in charge of them, like at school, you're supposed to be doing CPR and using a barrier device, getting breaths, and getting the AED. If you don't know the person, you're on the side of the road, you're at someone's house hanging out, you can call 911 and you can do compressions, and maybe someone else can do the breaths if they want to. So if you do have something at home, such as a pillow or a football or a medicine ball or a foam roller or anything, you can push on that. If you forgot or you're in your car right now, just try today, just push on something somewhat hard. So that'll lead to my first question. So if you can't say it out loud, you can only chat. So sorry if you don't have a typewriter. If you can text next to you, but good or bad in the chat, whoever does it first will get the first free prize. Good or bad to break a rib doing CPR. So it's actually good if you do a little bit of cracking or breaking. It's like spraining an ankle, so you could sprain the cartilage. You could break it. Now, you don't want it to destroy, okay? You don't want to destroy someone's chest and be like, yay, I broke all their ribs, okay? But if you hear a crack or a break or a snap, crack, or pop, that's actually okay. If they're very older or elderly person, a lot of times they're going to crack too. So for them, you'd actually almost do like a child. You'd be using one hand, especially if they're like a thinner elderly person. But for a lot of people, even these kids that are 9, 10, 12 years old, right? They're a kid. Well, when LeBron James was 11 years old, he was bigger than most of us, right? So we want to use 2 hands on a lot of these kids these days. Okay, even elementary schools, a lot of these kids will get 2 hands. So I'll go right into compressions, is what we're talking about, hands only today. So if you want to follow along with me on a pillow or a medicine ball or whatever, or I'll show you on my little mannequin, okay? I have Carlos here. He has his Philadelphia Eagles on because I'm from Philly. And then I have my little baby here, which I'll talk about later. So these are real ones. We can also push on something around the house. So I'll do that first. All right, my second question. If you know this, the compression to breath ratio, if you're taking a real class, or if you know the person, if it's your mom or kid, what is the correct compressions to breath ratio? I did not say it yet, but if you put in the chat box, what is the compressions to breath ratio, what you should do. So in the meantime, in about 10 more seconds, football, medicine ball, pillow, if you want to get that, or just do it tonight. If you're embarrassed to do it now or don't have it with you. All right, the correct is 30 compressions to 2 breaths. So you're supposed to give 30 compressions and then 2 breaths, okay? If you were taking care of an individual, you would tap and shout, not like, hey, hey, hey. You'd actually knock them, or if you want to do a sternal rub. So you go like this, hey, you okay, you okay? Or do a sternal rub. Actually rub on there, okay? If you see a sign of life, if they open their eyes, moan, groan, if they talk, if they're moving, they don't need CPR. Maybe they were knocked out, maybe they're diabetic, maybe they had a drug overdose, maybe something's going wrong, but they don't need CPR. But if they don't look good, and no matter what skin color you are, okay? This is like alien white. No matter what skin color you are, if you look at the lips, if it's not looking good, you want to go right to calling 911, telling someone to get the AED, and do 30 compressions. If there's blood over the face, you don't know them, just do compressions only, okay? So we'll do compression only first. So if I was by myself, they don't look good, I would put my phone, 911, put it down, I would call and I would put it on speakerphone, and I would go right to the center of the chest, basically between the nipples, but the center of the chest, and you're gonna push down 30 times over and over and get 2 breaths, or you're just gonna keep doing this, and when you get tired, okay, we're gonna take a little break and go back to this. But notice how my arms are straight and I'm pushing straight over the mannequin, correct? If I do this, I got my butt, it's not gonna do good. So I need to be up off my bottom, use my straight arms and push down 30 times, or push over and over and over and over, okay? Or I do 30 times, good. 30 times, hard and fast. If someone can type in how far down we're supposed to go, you get the next prize. How many inches are you supposed to push down on an adult or child? For example, Carly would be on this side, I would be here. When I get to 30, I stop, and then Carly gives 2 breaths. Breathe, breathe, and I go right back to compressions. If you're not gonna get breaths, if you're by yourself and you don't have a barrier device, then you just keep doing hands only CPR over and over and over. You called 911 or someone else called 911, and you gotta keep doing this until you see a sign of life. Remember, a sign of life is talking, moving, moaning, groaning, opening eyes, moving around. So you're supposed to push down 2 inches. That's the answer. You're supposed to push down 2 inches. If you hear a crack or a break, that's okay. All right, I'm gonna try to present this video. Hope it's not too laggy. So this is like 1 minute and 10 seconds or something like that.
Suddenly collapse, it's important to act fast. Helping to save a life is easier than you might think. Just start Hands Only CPR. The first step is to send someone to call 911 or call 911 yourself. Then get directly over the victim. Put the heel of one hand in the center of the chest, then put your other hand on top of the first. Then push hard and fast in the center of the chest until help arrives. It's important to push, giving 100 to 120 compressions per minute, which is about the same tempo as the song Stayin' Alive. Let's hope you never have to use hands-only CPR. But if you see a teen or adult suddenly collapse, don't be afraid to try it. Remember, call 911, then push hard and fast in the center of the chest until help arrives. Your actions can help save a life.
So you saw that? That was pretty quick. Does anybody, I'm not done, but I'm saying, does anybody have any questions right now at this point? All right. So that was talking about hands only. So if you do nothing, think of this. If you do nothing, I see Phyllis is watching me nicely. If you do nothing, they stay dead. So just always think, oh, I don't want to hurt them. A lot of people say, I don't want to hurt their lungs. I don't want to hurt their chest. Well, if you do nothing and they are almost dead or dead, they go to the funeral and nothing's wrong with their dead lungs and nothing's wrong with their chest. I would rather try to save them. If you do push on someone too hard, and if they did show a sign of life, good. I'd rather have that, because some people will do nothing and then the person dies. So please always try to at least tap and shout, call 911, give compressions. So the next question is, at what time does brain damage start? 1 minute, 2 minutes, 3 minutes, 4 minutes, 5 minutes, 6 minutes? So it's one of those answers. It's basically, there's still statistically like no chance. They used to, before coronavirus, people worried about getting AIDS, but there's been like 1 maybe case in all of CPR's history of someone getting it. Could you maybe possibly get herpes at some point from doing it? That is a super slim, slight possibility, but AIDS people always used to worry about. That's not a problem with CPR. Coronavirus now, I'll just bring that up. So basically, if you were doing CPR on someone, all they want you to do is leave the person's mask on. Like I see Phyllis has her mask on. So you just leave the mask on, they can still breathe through it. So when you're pushing out, when you push on someone's chest, just think if I wouldn't do that, but if I punch someone on the chest, some air comes out. So when you're pushing on someone's chest in CPR, air, okay, whether they're alive or almost alive or dead, air is still coming out of their mouth. So you would use like a little cloth or some type of barrier or material, just put it over their face, not like suffocating them, but basically so it's covering their mouth, just like you have a mask on right now, or a gaiter or whatever it may be, or flip their shirt up to there. So it would be covering as you're pushing there, so it's not going out in the air. I mean, that's about the only thing you'd have to worry about. The Good Samaritan Law protects you. So don't be afraid to do CPR. People can try and sue you. They can sue for anything. It says hot coffee or caution, contents are hot when you buy McDonald's coffee. Why? Because someone sued them because they put it in their lap. So they can try and sue you, but they won't be successful. So never be scared to do CPR because they won't be successful, because the Good Samaritan Law does protect you. It also protects you if you use the AD, whether you're trained or untrained. So if you're scared to use it, just go get the AD. If you're scared to do CPR, at least you're moving people out of the way. Calling 911, maybe you know the person's name, get their information on paper or whatever. But if no one else is around, please try and start doing compressions. Some compressions are better than nothing. So we'd rather you always try something than nothing. And you can always call 911. You can say, hey, I called 911. They said start doing compressions. I started doing compressions, to make yourself to feel better about it. When I'm pushing on the chest, what's coming out? Air. So sometimes it's forcing some stuff out too. Just like on a grown man, if I'm pushing 2 hands, it's going to force out and help the unblock airway a little bit as well. Again, if you ever try this at home today, you do 30 compressions on the ball or whatever it may be, hard and fast, 2 inches. You're going all the way to 30. If you need to take a break and go back to 30. If you know the individual, or if you have a face mask or a barrier device, like I said, if you have the pocket mask, if you have the CPR keychain, you take that out and then you put it on the face and give 2 1-second breaths. Tilt the head, pinch the nose, and you would give 2 1-second breaths. Breathe, breathe, look for the chest rise, and go back to 30 compressions. Remember, I'm straight over the person, straight hands, I'm using my body weight. If I hear a crack or break, who cares, okay? But most of the time, nothing's gonna happen. I keep going here. If they started to cough, if they started like on TV, stuff's coming out of their mouth, turn them to the side or turn their head to the side. Are you okay? Are you okay? Are you, oh, go right back to compressions. Just because they throw up does not mean they're alive, because you've been pushing and breathing for a long time. So 30, and then 2 breaths. Remember, pinch your nose, breathe, 30 compressions. Or like I said, if you don't have a mask, just keep doing hands only CPR over and over until someone else, or sometimes you're doing it, the mom comes and the mom gives breaths and you do compressions. So let the mom worry about giving breaths and you worry about doing compressions, okay? Also, the AED is very important. Make sure you know where your AED is at school. The pads show you exactly where to put it. So it's upper right, lower left. So make sure you look at the pads on the AED where you work. It's pretty self-explanatory of where to put it. And the first thing you do on any AED, just like your phone or computer,
begin by removing all clothing from the patient's chest. Cut clothing if needed.
Okay, turn it on. It starts telling you what to do. Never be afraid to use the AED because it will only shock if needed. It will not shock someone who doesn't need it. So don't be afraid to use the AED. All right, I'm gonna show you this next video. It's like a minute and a half. It's a video from my class like 2 years ago. It's at a gym, so it might be helpful for some of you who are like in, so you guys can watch this, like a minute and 30 seconds, that's it. So they do 2-person CPR and use the AED. But basically you saw them working as a team. Someone was giving 30 compressions, someone was giving 2 breaths. They put the pads on the bare chest, okay? They kept going. Never take the pads off. Once you put the pads on, keep going, okay? And the main thing is starting this, because if you start compressions, even without breaths, it starts getting the oxygenated blood. And like I said, you don't want the person to be brain dead. If you do nothing, once you get to 4 minutes, that's the answer. Once you get past 4 minutes, that's when brain damage starts. When you get to 5 minutes, 10% more of the brain cells die, and the percentage of death goes up 10% more each minute. So once you get to past 10 minutes, the success rate is extremely low to survive CPR. But if you start CPR and AED within the first 4 minutes, it's a very high chance of survival if they haven't had many previous sudden cardiac arrest or heart attack or predisposed problems. But basically, if someone, it's the first time ever they've had this issue, if you start CPR and get the AED within 4 minutes, it's a way higher success rate than if you do nothing after 6, 7, 8 minutes or they are predisposed. Like I told you, the Good Samaritan law protects you. Cracking the ribs is okay. Dial 911 as soon as you can. If your school says, well, we have to call the radio, and then someone on the radio calls 911, who cares really? You wanna do that too, but just use your phone or call 911, because if it takes a minute or two, that might be a minute or two that you're eating away at the person's life. So call as soon as you can. And then I'll show you infants after this real quick. I'll talk about infants and show you infants, and then I'll be done. You guys can ask questions. I forget, most of you have seen that old school movie, Mrs. Doubtfire. You're doing the Heimlich maneuver and it comes out. Ooh, it does come out like that, okay? It is pretty cool. So Heimlich maneuver, you can sort of do it to yourself. Doesn't feel good. If you are ever choking at home, a non-rolly chair, so don't use a computer chair, you're gonna roll down the street, right? So you wanna use some other type of chair. If you were choking and you do it to yourself over and over until it comes out. If it was an infant, this is like 1 and under. If this was an infant, then we would go like this, 5 times. Turn them over and push right here 5 times. 5 times, hard too, right? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So we're not burping the baby. We want to get this out. So it's pretty hard back slaps, then hard pushes, like CPR like this. Okay. So also CPR on infants. If it's a child, you use one hand. So this is adult, everybody. This is adult. A smaller, thin, young child is one hand, about 1.5 inches deep. And an infant, they changed it. You can do one hand or 2 or 3 fingers. So they just changed that last month. So you can do one hand on an infant like this, or 2 or 3 fingers. That's how I used to do it, or I used to like this. And you still do 30 times. So if it's an infant, you could also even, if it was like, let's say a 6-week-old, you could be holding the baby and going like this. 1, 2, 3. The only good thing about infant CPR is you can walk with it. If you had to walk to the front door for the ambulance to come. So same thing, 30 compressions, 2 breaths. Most of you would say, oh, I'll give that baby breaths. Yes, most people would. So if you give this baby breaths though, adults, we pinch a nose and make a good seal. The baby is so small, if they're very, very small, we put our mouth over the nose and mouth. So we would give 2 puffs and go right back to 30 compressions. Now you don't hold the baby like this. I'm doing it because we're on Zoom, but you know. So we do 30 times. Once we get to 30, 2 breaths. If you don't know the baby, just do compression only. You can do one hand, or you can do 2 or 3 fingers. 30 compressions. Over and over until you see a sign of life. Sign of life again is moaning, groaning, talking, sitting up, okay, sign of life. If they are not responding at all and they don't look good, no matter what skin color you are, if you look at the lips, it's not normal color. If you think to yourself, oh my gosh, this does not look good, you need to keep doing CPR until the color comes back and then they have a sign of life.